It didn't feel nice when I got knocked off my bike by a car. It didn't feel nice when I got my phone stolen by a mugger when I was 16 years old. It wasn't nice when I lost my dog and also my cat in the same year. These events had psychological impacts on me where I wouldn't have an appetite, I wouldn't feel great at night, I would cry myself to sleep. But eventually, you have to overcome them. And how to overcome them is by physically releasing the trauma within you. Did you know that trauma is stored in the muscles? Visualize it like residue, like tar going over your muscles in your arms and your shoulders. Why do you think we cry? Why do you think people shake when they are in distress? Those are responses to trauma. They are natural. Do not suppress them, otherwise you will hold the trauma within you for longer. Ever noticed how the people who cry the least get the most affected by mental health problems? There was a heartbreaking video once showing the last moments of various people in the UK. The last videos taken of them ever. Did you realise that they all looked happy, like they were suppressing a trauma release emotion? That's exactly why they unfortunately succumbed to their mental health problems, because they didn't release it. It's not as simple as just releasing it, by the way, but I'm telling you that symptoms of the mental health problem are more likely to arise if you don't release it in a way, if you bottle it up, let's say. Trauma can be effectively released when you let it all out in a therapy session or in front of a family member, a trusted one at that. You might want to cry it out, shout it out, say why you're mad. And then afterwards, notice how much more free you feel, like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. That is the manifestation of the trauma releasing. So after my dog passed away, I had a traumatic few weeks. I would go to bed, crying myself to sleep, thinking, how can I ever get the times back? It was a cruel reality. I was dealing with a permanent change when the dog we had for half of my life vanished from me in just one day. What could I do? So naturally, when I thought about her at night, I just cried and cried and cried, and it made it so much better. It took multiple nights, but eventually I didn't need to cry anymore. I didn't feel any more resentment over the fact that she's gone. And I moved on. And that no longer affects me mentally because I've completed the necessary steps to overcome the trauma that I experienced back then. Even on the smaller scale of day-to-day traumas, for example, when you break your favorite glass and you feel like you lost something important in your life because you felt emotionally attached to it. You're struggling to move on, but then you get a new one, and in a week's time, you're not even thinking about it anymore. That is the same process by which you overcome longer term traumas, just over a time period of many times more the length, 5 to 10 times, even 100 times. It can really hurt. I've never lost a family member that isn't part of my grandparents' generation, and I also have never lost a close friend. I've known people who have been a part of my life growing up in one way or another, not too long. People my age. One boy was 19 and one girl was 21. I wasn't close to them, but it still felt weird losing them, you know? And I dread to think of a time where we next lose another human that's close to us who's too young to die. It's a sad thing to think about, but I believe that with enough experience and knowing how to deal with trauma, by crying it out, shaking it out, raging it out, I feel like I am better equipped to tackle whatever traumatic episode comes up next in my life. You know, trauma is a natural part of human life. If you are shielded from trauma earlier in your life, the worse the trauma will hit you when you get older. Say if nothing bad ever happens in your life until one of your parents passes away. How would you react when they actually pass away? It'll be devastating. And you've got to accept that traumatic episodes are unavoidable. They will happen. You will lose someone close to you, or you will be harmed physically in a way that you can't quite recover from for many weeks, even months, years even. There is no avoiding trauma, and that is why you need to be best equipped to deal with it when it occurs. So crying, speaking it out, raging it out, all those terrible emotions are part of the healing process. That's how you should view it. That's how you overcome the trauma. You know, there are some trauma experts out there who can let you do some exercises like jumping up and down, or how to access your shadow self, make you cry out and move on after just a few days or even hours. There are powerful physical practices that you can undertake to overcome trauma, and I encourage you to do some research on them if you're interested. I feel like a lot of young people who have autism or think they have autism have some sort of resentment or trauma from having a lack of social skills, from a lack of social interaction, which is why I am now offering the pre-sale of my one-to-one personalized coaching, helping young people with autism or think they have autism to overcome their social difficulties. To learn more, please check the link in the description. So think about that if you're currently going through a period of trauma, or you feel like you didn't get over a traumatic event earlier in your life properly. Perhaps revisit that memory, no matter how painful it may feel, and overcome it with physical trauma release practices. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned something about trauma today. Take care and see you in the next video.